Okay, my name is Jennifer Audie, and I'm a former APD supporter, and I've been supporting APD for the past year. The good police, at least. I mean, I tried to leave dirty cops out of it because, quite honestly, people question your credibility when you mention the dirty cops on any level, because there is a shadow department, and I am speaking out because I'm trying to warn the good cops of what's happening here in the city. I do believe that a lot of good cops are being targeted by these dirty police officers to get them killed, arrested, fired, disabled. I do believe a lot of these car accidents are staged by dirty police and their dirty informants. But I just want to apologize to all the APD protesters in any way that I may have offended you, because I believe so much truly in these good officers, because my dad was a good officer. I'm the daughter of an Army MP and CIA combat operative. It's hard to find records on my father because all of his information is classified, so I've gotten grilled for that as well. But he served in Vietnam from 1968 to 1969. But today I came to City Council to speak to Chief Eden. Unfortunately, he was not available in the room at the time of my comment. But I wanted to say, on December 23rd, 2014, I called 911 for help. Armed drug dealers were threatening my life. I had called 911 and 242 cops for months about these violent men stalking me at my home, giving death threats to me for defending APD. Also, they were tampering with my property. I do have pictures of my damaged property. I did report this to APD on several occasions. They refused to do police reports, take pictures of anything. The officers who did show up just kind of blew it off like, I was just overreacting. And the dirty APD cops showed up on December 23rd, 2014 at approximately 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My mother called 911 as well as other people who were staying at the hotel on my behalf. And the dirty cops showed up that day and let all the armed drug dealers go, refusing to search their vehicle or persons. SWAT came, made me a target, pointing over 20 AR-15s in my face, and I was completely unarmed as stated in the report. APD stole my phone with complete video evidence as well. Officer Jerry Rauch took a knife, put it to my throat, cutting my keychain off my neck, which is assault and battery with a deadly weapon. None of the so-called good officers arrested him for this. They allowed him to go up and, give SWAT my key, which they entered my premises, my room, illegally. SWAT invaded my home without a search warrant, and Detective D. Garcia made a false report using an APD drug dealing confidential informant as the only witness against me. Even though there were over 20 witnesses there at the time, including, officer managers, there were, residents there were people roaming around the parking lot. I mean, it was just a mess that day. And also my family was there. They were not questioned. I was not questioned by Detective Garcia, so I don't know how he could have made such a presumptuous report without my statement and my witnesses. Officer Rauch and Officer Greer, Cedric Greer, lied repeatedly to get me into their vehicle. They never once stated that I was arrested for anything. They told me they were just going to take me in for questioning. They lied. They told me that there were suspects that were arrested. They took me to Southeast Substation where, we kind of just exchanged, banner. And I thought that everything was fine. I thought they were just questioning me about the men that were on my parking lot. And, they also lied to me to get me out of the Southeast Substation. They asked me if I wanted a cigarette. I don't smoke, but I just decided to go out and get some fresh air. At that time, they did cuff me from the front, and, they told me, well, we're just going outside for a cigarette. At that time, they told me that I needed to get in the car, so I figured, that these were good cops on my side, so I did, agreed to get in the car. I thought that they were going to take me home, because usually when you're under arrest, they're going to tell you you're under arrest. They're going to put your arms behind your back. They're going to tell you what you're being charged with. I was never told what I was charged with. I asked them several times, on camera what's going to happen. You know, can I talk to the detective? I never talked to Detective Garcia, not one time. And I do believe Detective Garcia is making false reports for APD officers out Southeast Substation so that they can kidnap, beat, and rape women in a rape, sex, torture ring at Southeast Substation. And Officer Greer and Officer Rouch, they took me down to the APD transport station. And, you know, this station is designed to prevent things like this. And so, you know, they took me down to the APD transport facility, I would say approximately around 9 o'clock. And so, you know, I was getting very angry because I'm like, you know, am I under arrest? Why am I here? You know, and I was like, where are all the rest of the other suspects? Because there was no other cop cars following us. And so, you know, at the time I had my handcuffs still in front of me at the time. And so they took me into the transport station, and I started realizing that these were dirty cops, that I had ran into the dirtiest cops here in Albuquerque. And I did feel that they were retaliating against me for standing up for the good officers of the APD and warning them about staged shootings and also staged incidents such as car accidents. Once again, I want to apologize to APD protesters in any way that I may have offended you, not listening to you, not believing you on any point that you have tried to make to me, because I started realizing that APD protesters were right about these officers, that a lot of them are rogue and they are dirty. So Officer Rouch, I told Officer Rouch that they were dirty cops, Officer Greer as well. I said, you're dirty cops. I said, you're the dirtiest cops I've ever ran into. And so they got angry. They uncuffed me in front of other officers. They cuffed me very tightly, almost breaking my wrists behind my back. Then they dragged me out by my arms, almost breaking my arms, and slamming me into the vehicle 2 times, and then laughing about it. They were laughing the whole time. And then they tried to shove me into the police vehicle, and my neck was hitting the top of the car where they were trying to break my back. And they kept trying to break my back, but, you know, I'm a very flexible person, but it still hurt like hell, and they threw me in the vehicle, and they took off up 5th Street. And they took off up 5th Street with music blasting. They, you know, turned down the music, turned to the left of the road, and both officers, you know, got out of the vehicle, raped me. And this happened very quickly. It seemed like this had been something they had done before. They were so quick about it, and I'll call them Minutemen is what they were. You know, they certainly did not try to damage me in any way. Because they knew that you know, there could be a possibility that, you know, a rape exam may be done, but they, you know, they raped me, and also these officers, one of them, Greer, raped me, and then Officer Cedric Greer was the one who raped me, and then Jerry Rouch was actually masturbating on the other side of the car. It was a very disgusting scene. It was very quick. And, you know, we proceeded to go up 5th Street, where they just continued laughing and turning up the music, and they went west on I-40. And all of a sudden, I saw what's it called? A chopper, an APD chopper. I looked up in the sky, and I eyed that chopper, and I could see that it was following the car, because it, you know, that chopper pilot had seen what was going on, that, you know, that something's wrong here. You know, why are they arresting this girl? I mean, I have known a lot of the pilots throughout the community, APD, all kinds of pilots, Kirtland Air Force Base, you know, and this pilot followed our vehicle all the way to the west side. And, you know, the music was so loud, you know, there was no talking to these officers at any point. So they continued laughing, driving very fast down the freeway. And what I don't understand is, why is there not GPS on these police vehicles? What we need to do as, you know, people trying to find justice is get APD GPS on every vehicle, so that we know exactly where that vehicle is at all times. And so, these officers are driving madly and wildly. Officer Rouch actually looked very high on methamphetamine. And so we got to the actual part of the highway, which is over near the jail. And actually, thankfully to the APD pilot, the APD pilot actually landed on the highway, stopping the car from turning right over here. I thought they were going to kill me because they had pointed a gun at my head when I was being raped and told me if I told anybody about this, they would kill me. They would dump my body in the mason. Nobody would ever find me. And so I do believe, that these officers have done this before. It seems like this is a rape, torture kind of crime ring, including drugs down at the Southeast substation. And, I don't care anymore. I'm not afraid because these men have destroyed what little faith that I had in the police department. I was the only APD supporter that was talking on their behalf. That's how sorry I felt for the cops, because I'm like, oh my God, these people are just going to end up being annihilated. We need some honest police somewhere. But, I was arrested and I was taken to MDC, and these officers continued to put their hands on me. They could not keep their hands off of me. I was very angry and livid. I did report this to the MDC medical staff that I was raped and I was battered by them. And of course, they didn't write it down in the report. And all the way up to the point of my body search, Officer Rouch and Cedric Greer both ripped off all of my jewelry. They ripped off my clothing from me at MDC when I could have took it off myself. They could not stop putting their hands on me. It's clearly on camera. I was very angry and hostile because I had been through a very traumatic event. I was in a lot of physical pain. I was screaming on camera, and I did call them dirty cops. I did tell them that I wish that they were fired. I wish that they were dead, that I hated them. I did. I hated them because, they have betrayed my trust. They threatened to kill me, and all of the other officers were stunned, silent. They were just shocked. And, I went to be searched by a female officer of MDC, which they should have just let the officer search me. They could not stop putting their hands on me. Even when the female officers were searching me, they would not leave me alone. And so I was actually put in a suicide cell, and I stayed there for a long time, and, which I was yelling at myself for a long time, like, why are you not letting me out? I didn't even know I was in a suicide cell. But it seems like this is a standard practice that they are taking rape victims who have been kidnapped, battered, and raped. They are putting them in MDC on false charges like I was, and they are putting them in suicide cells because you are separated for all the entire population for at least 12 hours until you get to population. And you are, refused water, you refused any type of phone calls. I was not allowed to make any phone calls. And so I actually was taken in by MDC officer 2 PAC 4 unit, which they are hiding a lot of these girls that are being raped and assaulted by APD. And they are hiding these girls in PAC 4 unit is where they're hiding these girls. And they are, doing a big job for APD over there at MDC. Okay, these girls are being put in suicide cells for 5 days at a time with no clothing, no water, no nothing. But thankfully, I did know the MDC PAC 4 staff, so they actually took me off of suicide watch. If I had been on suicide watch, I would never been allowed a rape kit. I would never been allowed phone calls. I would have been heavily sedated, and I was heavily sedated. I was given several drugs, that knocked me out cold. I was actually given a shot. A doctor and nurse came into my cell, gave me a shot, and I was out cold. And I did wake up to the sound of, officer, knocking on my door, so that I could get up for court. Thankfully, I was able to make it out of that cell because I was not in suicide cell. I was put in clinical seclusion in PAC 4. And when you're in clinical seclusion, you're not allowed to shower. You're not allowed phone calls. Nobody can talk to you. It's the same thing, but suicide watch is even worse because you cannot go to court on suicide watch. But thankfully, to the MDC staff, everybody knows me over there, and I was put on a low security level, even though I had very serious crimes. So I was allowed to go to court. When I went to court, I told the male guards there that I had been raped by APD officers. They did take me to the lieutenant's office. The lieutenant automatically called the APD Sex Crimes Unit Insane, which is a sexual assault nurse exam. And it took them almost 2 days from the first time that I had been, booked into MDC. It almost took 2 days for SANE and also APD Sex Crimes detectives to get there. And so Jennifer Perez was one of the officers that were actually there at the time of my exam. And I was heavily drugged. I could hardly remember anything. And this is what they're doing to the girls. They're, loading them with drugs where they're incoherent. I could barely remember anything. And, the least they could have done was let me try to wake up from the drugs that I was given by syringe injection. And I was just so groggy. And, I was just so numb. I don't even know what kind of drugs they gave me to knock me out. But I was so numb, I could not even feel anything, but I was still, and I couldn't feel anything in an emotional state, but my back was still hurting from extreme injuries. So the SANE nurse, I don't know her name, it will be public record, but I do believe that she is covering up a lot of these rapes that are being reported at MDC. She literally told me I wasn't raped enough. Literally, she told me there's no trauma, did you do this to yourself? I'm like, no. I was planning on going to the galleries and doing what I do. I sell art. I'm a world famous artist. Okay, that's what I do. I was making Christmas gifts, having a happy time for Christmas before this incident. And so anyway, getting back to the SANE nurse, she accused me of making everything up. She said, there's no trauma, you don't look raped enough. Well, of course, they're gonna, be quickies. Try to get in, get out, and not get caught. And so after that, the APD Sex Crimes Unit did talk to me, and two female officers. One was named Jennifer Perez. I don't know the other officer's name, but both of them treated the whole thing like it was just a joke. And I did make a mistake of the street that I was actually being taken up because I'm not familiar with that part of the city. I didn't realize what street it was until I did get taken and transported to court. And so I realized that instead of 6th Street, it was 6th Street on the actual report. But no, the actual street was 5th Street, which was going north. So I think that that's the reason why they're like, this is a bunch of crap, because 6th Street goes south, 5th Street goes north. So, I'm sorry I was incoherent at the time, but everybody knows 5th Street is the street that goes north. And so these detectives, they refused to believe anything I said. I asked them, well, how long is the investigation going to take? They said it could take months. And so I heard nothing back from them. I was finally released from clinical seclusion. I was invited out to sleep in the regular beds. I was trying to wait for my check to come. I'm a jeweler, and I was waiting for my check to come so that I could pay my own bond. And so that, I was waiting for that. And I was put in a low security area, and for somebody that is so dangerous to society, I was put with all of the elderly ladies that APD is arresting. And APD is arresting a bunch of disabled elderly women for absolutely nothing, trumping up charges. There's been elderly women that have been there for almost a year and a half with no trials, no court dates, no nothing, and they're just being held indefinitely in MDC PAC 4 unit, because the thing about MDC PAC 4 unit is you have to have the doctor, who is Dr. Russo, you have to have his permission to leave NBC. Even if your case is dismissed, he's kept women there for over a year after their cases have been dismissed. And, you know, I started witnessing a lot of the women who reported rapes there. There was one girl, her name is Stephanie Abeda, and she was an inmate there. She was only there for criminal trespass as well as the false charge of attempting to commit a felony, which is not even a charge. And Stephanie Abeda was there on a $50 bond. And APD tried to trump up charges on her when she called 911 reporting a robbery that happened to her. They turned it all around on her. They let her perpetrators go, and Stephanie Abeda, I'm going to attempt to get her witness testimony because, you know, she was, you know, beaten severely by APD. She wasn't raped by them, but she was beaten severely by APD. There's also another victim who is still incarcerated at NBC. Her name is Wendy Spencer. And she called 911 because she found out that her boyfriend was on a sex offenders list, and she felt that he was going to attack her because she found out. And she defended herself against this individual, throwing an ashtray at him so she could get away. APD showed up, let the sex offender go, and took her to jail on assault with a deadly weapon charges. And now she is doing a year in NBC because of these charges, because she gave up hope of trying to go to trial, and she is willing to testify at any type of APD, you know, hearings. Hopefully, you know, APD supporters will do a formal congressional inquiry with Senator Tom Udall, also Senator, actually Representative Michelle Lujan Grisham, as well as Representative Rick Mara, as well as Representative Stapleton. We do need formal and congressional inquiries requested by actual, you know, coalitions for APD, because there's only a limited amount I can do, because I've reached before this, I was reporting stalking at my work, and I actually, because I reported stalking at my work, I got my actual city license and permit in Old Town suspended, if you can imagine, before this. I'm actually going to a hearing on February 6th for that suspension. They're trying to revoke my permit for reporting crimes. Also people, artists getting robbed and beaten down there in Old Town. One vendor was robbed of over $5,000 worth of jewelry. Mayor Barry refuses to put cameras in Old Town. So this is where this all started. With the death threats and everything, is because I started reporting things to Mayor Barry. I started reporting things to City Council. Outside of my support for APD, I started writing letters to I have 2 congressional inquiries going on, one with Senator Tom Udall as well as Senator Michelle Lujan Grisham. But Michelle Lujan Grisham is actually doing the investigative matter into Old Town Portel manager James Deschampon. And he has also been a facilitator for, you know, stalkers down there in Old Town. There's also a very violent situation in Old Town. I've been writing Mayor Barry since 2008, which is public record. He refuses to put video cameras down in Old Town, where I do sell my jewelry and art as well. But I'm coming forward because there is something very seriously deadly going on. The dirty cops are going more with the good cops, and the good cops don't even know it yet. And I plan on exposing them. I am not suicidal. I do not hate my life. I love living, so, you know, if somebody tries to say I'm suicidal in the future after reporting this, if I do end up missing for some reason, you know, for some reason I love life. And I have a great career, and I have a lot of hope for the future. And I do believe that we do need to stand up for these rape victims, as well as, you know, a lot of women who have disappeared. I do believe that the dirty cops are involved with this. There is drug dealing going on at the Southeast Substation. I have contacted New Mexico State Police, as well as Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office. Their detectives are doing an independent investigation into these allegations, as well as The FBI, I've notified the FBI as well to investigate not only Foothills Command but also Southeast Command. A day after I reported these incidents to these higher level authorities, there was a blue on blue shooting, and I do believe that the dirty cops were trying to silence, I believe his name was Grant. I believe they did want to murder him because he was an honest detective. And it's so ironic that all of a sudden all these people are starting to end up dead all over the city in accidents, especially the young man, I don't remember his name, but he was shot and killed by APD on Central in San Mateo. What are the chances that he has a BCSO vest and also a weapon on him? The word on the street is that he was a confidential informant, that they did hunt him down like an animal, just like they hunted me down, but they were not successful in murdering me on site because, fortunately there were some good officers on SWAT. Unfortunately, they did look the other way that day on December 23rd, 2014, but I can no longer support APD any longer because they will not defend me any longer. They refuse to admonish my stalkers. They refuse to arrest drug dealers who are following me. I don't do drugs anymore. I do believe these drug dealers were angry because I didn't want to buy any drugs. That I do have a United States military, U.S. Marine Corps flag in my window. And I will always put that in my window because that's who I am. That's who my family is. I'm a military daughter as well, but I just want to thank so much for these APD protesters who did take the time to hear my story. I know that it's been an exhausting fight. I know hearing these stories, it feels like you're carrying 10 tons of bricks, but I really do need to get this story out, and I know this is shocking. And, for any dirty cops that may be listening here at City Hall, there are good CIA agents and there are good FBI agents that are going to hunt you down in retribution for what you are doing, not only to the good citizens of Albuquerque. And I also wanted to commend the APD homicide unit for the extensive work that they are trying to do. I do believe in APD homicide detectives because I was dating an APD homicide detective. I'm no longer dating him because I feel that this is putting his career in jeopardy. And I did send him a lot of pictures and everything of my stalkers. I've been reporting this to him since October. And before that, I've been writing him for 3 years. We had been writing on and off for 3 years through text messaging before he did meet me, and we did start dating. And, I did gain his trust. I was hoping for something to develop, but unfortunately, because of my political stances, representing the good men of APD, also now, especially that I'm going against the dirty cops of APD, I do feel that it is very, bad for his career, and I don't want to jeopardize his career. I don't plan on revealing his identity. I love this person very much, and I'm going to remember him for the rest of my life, but I can no longer contact him or see him. And he was very good to me. He believed every word I said, and he is there arresting murder suspects. He arrested a number of murder suspects throughout the time that I've known him. It's countless murder suspects that he's brought to justice. And I want to commend APD Homicide. I do not believe that they are involved in this whole charade. I do believe those detectives are trying their best. I do believe that the detectives of the APD overall, unit as a whole are trying their best. I do believe these are lower ranking officers that are doing this. Jerry Rauch and Cedric Greer, I do believe their careers are less than 2 years. I did see on Cedric Greer that his graduating class of APD was in 2012. So these are fairly new officers, but I just want to thank all the Albuquerque police protesters just for being so respectful to me. When I was at protest trying to stand up for good police, and I do believe every word you've said, and I hope that we can make this as a bridge together to try to bring justice to these women who are being raped and killed, because a lot of these women are disappearing that are reporting rapes. I mean, there was girls who reported rapes to me back 2 years ago. I can't find any evidence of them being alive in the city whatsoever. I do believe a lot of these girls are being killed by, whoever don't want them around, either cops or murderers or I don't know. But a lot of these girls are disappearing that are reporting. That's why I'm saying I am not suicidal. I love my life. I'm not afraid, okay, but I'm angry. Do not try to hunt me down, APD, okay, dirty cops, because eyes are watching you everywhere, okay? We are a CIA operative family. We have served our country. My grandfather was also infantry, U.S. infantry, Army in World War II. Our family has served in just about every war there is. We do have military people defending us in every capacity. But I want to thank you so much for your time, and I want to just thank you so much for listening to me.